Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Chris from One Strong Home. Today is Family Friday. Terry's about to walk in the door and join us here in just a minute. But thank you for being here with us. Today we got some pretty cool stuff that we're going to talk about. We're talking about chicks. Not just talking about chicks, but spring chicks, man. It's that season. You guys might be getting some of the publications coming in your mail. If you're like us, you get them dripped to you in your email all the time on your Facebook posts, and you're seeing people's, new chicken brooding situations in their chicken coops and everything coming in. Maybe you're getting excited too. So that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Terry is definitely the professional on this one in the family. I've been around a lot of it for sure, but when she joins us, she's gonna dump all the knowledge into the basket. A couple of things I want to show you here today. We're going to be talking over them as we go. Sometimes you find yourself some magazines, right? It's great to be able to go through these, save them. We always keep them actually on the old magazine rack at the end of the couch, because there's times when you might just think, I have a desire and an inkling to get bantam chickens, or maybe this year I will do those meat birds, right? So it's a great help, a great guide. One of the things they'll tell you here is their shipping zones, right? That's one of the most important, is to make sure that you're shipping from a zone local to where you live, right? If you don't, what will happen is you'll have a pretty high death rate. Typically, if you've never gotten chicks shipped over the mail, it's actually pretty fancy. They put them in a little cardboard box, a little bit of pine shavings or whatever's in the bottom of there. They give them kind of an extra mineral, helps them ship, and they just ship it. And it's like an overnight. The max you want that is the second day, and you need to be able to pick those up. They're a live animal, and you pick them up typically from your postal office. I'm sure some places can get them direct to your house, but we always pick them up at the postal office, and it works out really well. We've had years where we've ordered from a little further away from our region. We're up here in Washington, and we've had years where half of them died. Right, we get them, and maybe one was dead, and then by the next day, half of them would die, and they just get stressed out too much. Right, the temperature's not right for them, or the transit isn't right for them. But make sure you're doing that through your zone. Right, that really is going to make a big difference on the speed and how you get them and how you can pick them up. I know we've had troubles with that with our local postal office picking them up there, but they're really great about it. They give you notice, they give you a phone call. You can go to the back door and pick them up even before their door being open, and they're required to do that because it is a live animal, right? So that's a great way to go, whether you use this company, which is Dunlap Hatcheries or McMurray or Mayers or any of those, or if you're going to your local Tractor Supply store and buying them there. Just really kind of look at the health of the birds and the condition of the cages, right? Because that's going to bring that health success or failure to your farm too, right? So there's a lot of ways to get chicks. Obviously, you can if you got a brooding hen, you can do that on your own. I got a cool little clip here of a brooding hen, right? This is a duck, a beautiful duck that we had, and if you see something going on like this, she is getting ready and sitting on some of them eggs, right? So it's pretty easy to find a good brooder. She'll be the one sitting in the corner. Terry is here with us now, so pretty excited. We're gonna get her mic'd up real quick, but and we'll go through some things on how to use an incubator, ones that we use and we prefer. We've used many different styles, and there's definitely an ease to the one that we recommend. Now we aren't partnered with them or anything like that. We don't make any money off them, nothing. We're just trying to share with you guys the things that really help us. Morning, Terry.
Morning.
I think you're all mic'd up. Sounds good. Talked about some of the online options, zoning, and making sure that the travel on that makes sense for your location, because they don't last that long. 2 days, right? If you don't have them in a more secure space and good water and good feed, by day 2, you're gonna have a lot of loss with those chicks. So.
Yeah, and did you talk about the postal office and how they work?
Yeah, with ours, I don't know if some people give them direct ship to their house, but for us, it's always pick up live at the postal office. And they're great. They've been great to us. They call us first thing in the morning, sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock, and You drive up to the back door, knock, and they let you in, and they'll grab them for you, and they're in a heated room, right? So they understand the value of that too. It happens all the time, and you walk in, and the whole building sounds like chirping chicks, and they're like, "Thank God, take your chickens," right? And if you didn't know, a box about this big, right? It's a little bit about the size of a shoebox, a little taller than a shoebox, but shoebox. With 50 in those?
I don't know. I feel like it's 20 in each one because we
20
had
in each side. 40. So I think we've had 50 in one box. We had 2 boxes once, and we got 100 once. So yeah, depending on how many you order, you can fit, give or take, 50 in one little shoebox. They aren't very big, and they got a lot of fluff on them, and they just bounce around, and they kind of protect each other when they're.
the nursery or the hatcheries do great. They do send extra chicks for in case, but the main thing is for us, we can track them. They send you a tracking number, and so you can see it as they're making their way towards your place.
Ready for it.
They always stop in Tacoma and end up there overnight, and I think that's what gets us with them. So
yeah, and if they're overnight, man, they're little. They're 2 days old, right? They're susceptible to temperature for sure. All right, we want to talk about, obviously, if you have chickens in your spring plan. We're doing this early because even though we're not ready to order chickens yet, it's important for you guys to also get things prepared for them, right? I was able to find a couple photos on here. So we've done a couple of different styles. If you have a naturally brooding hen, right, just let them do their thing. Honestly, you can separate them. You can let them do a thing. Keep putting eggs in there. We recommend marking them as you go so you kind of have an idea of what day they started sitting on them. But if you're going to try and build your own egg incubator, right, there's some different styles out there. We've used the styrofoam ones like this that have like turners. This is a style. It's like a plastic box, and the egg kind of rocks back and forth, and it's designed to do that. Keeps temperature. Honestly, the styrofoam ones we absolutely hated. Don't waste your money on them. They're nearly impossible to clean if one doesn't turn out to be a chicken, and instead you just boil the nasty egg, right? And it just explodes, right? And it kind of weeps out, and it smells terrible, and they're almost impossible to clean because it's semi-porous, right? The styrofoam is. We use a style that looks like this. I thought, damn it, you're going to do it. Want to talk about this, Terry?
Well, we like this size. It's nice if you're just hatching some chicks. If you need to hatch more, than that one that he showed the picture of is an okay one. But this is nice because it allows you to kind of control the little mini climate in there pretty easily since it's just so small. The only problems that I've had with this one, I forgot the turner in there one time, and so I just unplugged it, but it's pretty tall in there with for the chicks once they hatch.
This little guy.
And then you do have to make sure that you keep this guard in the middle. That's kind of where the water goes into when you fill the water, and so that's important. Otherwise, they find their way in there too when they're stumbling around once they hatch.
Show you a couple pictures. So this is what it looks like when you're loading it, right?
Yeah.
And the eggs, you can get different sizes of these yellow trays so that you can do smaller chicks like we did quail, right? We can do all the way up to turkey. Typically, I think some of these are turkey eggs in this picture. And it rotates, right? So these little yellow tabs attached to the part that covers this up. And as this spins, it spins the outside rotation as it needs throughout the day. It's really neat to be able to do that. It's nice when you have just this dozen or whatever's in this size because then you can do multiple types of chickens if you want, right? I'll show you a picture of us. We had this set up like, pay no attention to our messy office, right?
Oh no, that's not bad. That's all we were
feed
also
under
doing
there.
No, that's we were starting some seeds.
Oh,
so that's all some seed stuff at the same time.
And you can see this other plastic yellow squarish one in the back. That's a picture of that one that has the kind of flips back and forth. That one's a pretty nice style unit. The one that looks about that shape, but it's all styrofoam, is the one that is really tough to clean.
Not our favorite.
Not our favorite. But you can see here how many we did this year, right? Between turkeys, chickens, there were probably some bantam eggs in there also, and just our regular flock.
And this is set up in our office, so we can close the door and keep our dogs out because that's not something we want to deal with. Luckily, they have never got our eggs or our chicks once they've hatched, but they have got into our flower starts before. and that was a huge mess and a lot of work that was wasted. So
One
we
of the
keep
things
our
that's
dogs
neat
away.
with this size is so you add water because the moisture in there keeps the humidity at certain times, right? But the units themselves, when they're small like this, they're far more accurate on what the humidity truly is in all spaces and all corners of it, right? That's one of the reasons why we kind of like the round one, is it really seems pretty consistent. And it has a timer on there. It has everything to go. It knows when it needs stuff and it beeps at you when it needs something. It's just it's an audible sound. It'll remind you so that you don't end up cooking your eggs, right?
Yeah, and after a few hatches, I've decided I just do dry hatch now. It works best for me for chicken eggs, for chicks. It's just a little less stressful. It works just fine. And then
that's just a setting. You can set it so you don't need to worry about the humidity, right? You don't have to add the water like
it's
that.
not a setting. You just don't add water. And then at the end is really kind of when you want to watch the humidity, because it will go too high. So you have to watch your venting. Once they start hatching, their little bodies are all wet in there. And so as they're drying out, all that moisture is adding to the humidity that's in the incubator for the other ones that haven't hatched. And so you just don't want them
picture that.
to have a problem.
You'll be looking for this. Share a little celebration right there. That's when you know it's starting to hatch. It's typically, hopefully, on top. At some point, you can see we've taken away like the little rotation, the holders for them, because once they actually start to hatch, you don't want that thing spinning, right? Because you'll end up in a situation where that bird, that chick, is coming out of that egg. Last thing you want is that thing start rolling them over and get them stuck at the bottom of the egg.
It'll smash them. But also I don't think we mentioned what's underneath them. When we take out the egg turner is drawer. It's just a shelf liner. We just get a roll of it and then cut it. It helps to keep it clean because you just pull it out. I could wash it a couple times, but then once it's too gross, I'll just get a new piece of it, trim it to the right size in there, and then it helps them with their stability when they're moving around. So it helps to prevent some leg problems.
Yeah, because it's just slick plastic, which is nice for help cleaning the actual unit, right? But when you put that little drawer liner in it, you just cut the circle and you make it fit, right? It really, really does. It made a huge difference on our chicks. You can see it there where he's standing on it, right? It gives them something stable to actually use the little feet on.
Another thing I've seen people are doing now is they're using sort of like those oyster kind of netting, and they will have different types of eggs in their incubator at the same time. So they'll maybe have their green eggs and their blue eggs and their brown eggs, and so they want to keep the chicks as they hatch contained, so they know which ones came from which eggs. So if you're not there to watch, then you might not notice, but they'll put the egg in there, and as it hatches, that bag allows to stretch, and so the chicks are inside. I have never done it.
Inside a little net.
I have never done it before. It looks interesting. It makes me a little bit worried about getting tangled in there, but a lot of people say that they're doing great. But my worry would just be that they would all just be kind of cramped in there, and then you'd have some that hadn't hatched, and then you do not want to open it once they start to hatch. Otherwise, you'll get shrink wrapped chicks.
Yeah, we'll show a picture kind of that real quick. So that's always good. Look at that one. So when that chick starts coming out, right, there's that film that's on the egg that kind of holds the eggshell. That holds the eggshell a little bit there, right? So that if it gets too dry, it just shrink wraps right around them and they can't get out. And you sometimes have to help them out with a little set of tweezers and be real gentle. But it's important for them to get out by themselves, right? It's part of what makes them healthy. And you'll find that if you have to help a chick out, it will be the chick that has problems.
Yeah, survival of the fittest thing is pretty true when it comes to incubating chicks. If they don't push themselves out of their egg, but I always feel guilty. Like, did I do that? Like, if I have to crack it open, if there was another problem with another chick. So a lot of that's kind of up to you and what you want to risk.
I think one of the most important things too is make sure you're buying your chicks from a reputable seller, right? If you're going online, use one of the farm store online or magazines, or even at the tractor supplies or like your tractor stores. They can get good chicks, but just ask where they got them from, right? Because we ran into a situation where we were afraid some of our chicks would have had what's that non-inoculated thing?
Oh, yes.
Merrick's disease, which for you guys, it's kind of like the parvo of chickens, right? If it's in a farm and in an area, they can have it and it'll kill them all at some point, right? They won't grow right. They'll start to have a problem and they'll just die. But when you get them from all these stores, they give it like within the first hour or two. It's like a little inoculation on them
Hatchery.
and the hatchery, and it keeps them from having that problem. Almost all of them have that, and we highly recommend that because if you introduce that to your flock and you have natural born chickens that you've raised from at home, it could be a big deal, right? And then it's there because it's on the dander, it's on the everything from those chicks, and it's an impossible thing to get off your farm, just like a parvo would be for pets, for dogs. The next thing there too is what you do once they hatch, right? We actually really just like using totes. We start with just like a plastic sided tote with wood shavings or wood pellets in the bottom. If you soak those wood pellets just a little bit, they break up pretty nice and easy.
My favorite style is if you get a tote and you cut the middle out. I don't know if you have
the
any
lid.
pictures
I don't
of the
have a
lid.
picture of it. You can cut the middle of the lid out, right?
And add some I believe is it hardware cloth?
Hardware cloth or the chicken screening, right? It's the kind of tack welded wire, square wire lid, and just tape it on or zip tie it on or whatever, so they can't jump out and fly out because eventually they will be aerial.
And we start our chicks for the first about 2 weeks or so, or 10 maybe 10 days or so in our office. It's a lot easier to control the draft and everything. The only other space we have right now is in our garage.
It's not insulated.
Our garage is not insulated, and so we start them when they're kind of the most vulnerable in the office, and that's worked really well for us. It gets a little crazy when we have maybe like a staggered hatch, or maybe we're starting chicks and then we realize our hen has a nest as well, and so we end up with maybe 100 or so chicks in our office at a time.
We've been there.
It's happened, and it gets a little bit crazy. But
and then everything smells like chicken poop for like
no, it's
3 weeks.
It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work to keep it all so it doesn't smell like chicken poop in your whole entire house.
And then eventually, these were what are those little things called?
And those ones are the quail.
Quail. Those are quail, right? Teeny tiny things are pretty awesome. There's 50 of them or something like that in little box. But remember, they need heat lamp, right? Eventually, we move them to a feed trough, right? Or so you get one of those, what are the galvanized food trough looking tub things that you get from like Tractor Supply. We put them in those and again put a top on it as they start to grow. This is when they start pooping a lot, right? So you'll have to be out there every couple of days cleaning out and changing out that bedding, or your garage will not smell great. But if you have an outdoor shed or something like that where you can set up for a space like that, so that's the best. It needs airflow going through it. You need to be able to keep warmth on them still, because until they feather just past this is about the time when we're ready to take them and put them outside. But like I said, if you actually have like a brooding chicken and she is like ready to go, or this one's a duck, right? But you could throw them all under there. We've done that and had chickens hang out with ducks their whole life, and had ducks hang out with chickens their whole life because they were born and they were happy and that's the family they knew. And man, that is a little bit weird, but it's pretty awesome on the farm, right? So if you have one like that, they'll raise them, and nature does it honestly better than you can. As long as you can make sure rats aren't a problem and they're not dying and squeezing through the fence, you'll be surprised, man, that they can squeeze through just about anything. I mean, if a duck can like get its head through, the rest of its body will go through that same space as a young
our biggest duckling. Predator for mostly our turkeys and our ducklings are the ones we've tried to leave out with mama, and the rats are the biggest pest that will get them, the biggest predator. So
they will. Yeah, because the rest of the animals they like to roost, right? Well, the young ones can't yet, right? And the rats will get them, and rats are like, hey, this is easy, right? And you don't have to have, if you see one rat, you got 5, right? So you don't have to have a ton of sign of rats, but they're there trying to trap them out. It's hard. It's hard on a farm with the feed and animals, right? For sure. But that's going to be the biggest thing you got to worry about. If you guys want to do meat birds, right? So we've done tons of meat birds in the past. We have family that does meat birds all the time. In fact, Terry's sister just ordered 100, I think. That's a lot of birds. One of the best ways we've actually found to do that is a chicken tractor, right? So we do the same thing here. You get them young, you raise them in the tank, right? But when they go outside, we make what's called a chicken tractor. And what we've found works the best is just some PVC pipe, like some 3/4 inch white PVC pipe, cheap stuff, doesn't matter, right? and 4 pieces of wood, right? And you make a square or rectangle box, and you make the hoops over the top, like you're going to the pumpkin farm and you're sitting in the back of one of those wagons, right? You're just making a wagon top. You just screw them straight into the board so that they naturally make a pretty regular curve, right? Hoop, and then you put chicken wire over it, right? And we always get like a little 10 by 12 tarp from the store, and we'll zip tie a tarp over the top of that so they have shade, right? And protection from any rains that might happen during that too. And then we have a tendency to suspend. We just hang a water bucket in there and a food self feeder, right? And we just drag it every day, right? You put it in a lawn, a space that you want, and you let them run around. They bite and they chip up and they scratch up, and they're little, right? They're pretty small. It goes pretty quick, and they crap and they do the thing, and then the next day you just drag it to the space right in front of it, and you drag it to the space right in front of the day after that. When they're really small, you can get away with like 2 to 3 days probably without moving them. After about 3-4 weeks, they poop a lot, and they just eat and poop. That's all they're doing at that time, growing, eating, and pooping, right? And so you'll want to move them for certain every single day, or you will end up having this slab of chicken poop that you can't get off your lawn, right? And it takes a lot of work to get it kind of washed down or scraped up with a rake, and so that it can absorb back into the dirt, right? But you just do it. You get to the other end of the lawn, you turn it around and put it to that, 3 feet to the side. You drag it back along, and you'll see within like 2 months, man, that part of your grass is going to be the greenest, most beautiful grass you've ever seen. Just its little squares of what stage it's at, because the oldest is going to be the best, and the newest is going to be all kicked up and torn up by the chicks. But we have on our program there, make sure you find us at www.1stronghome.com, right? And you can find us on the Patreon and all of our links, and you'll find when we do training on that, we'll be posting some of the trainings. And if you're local, when we do butcherings here, that next stage, you're welcome to join us, right? That's what it's all about, is learning how to do it on your own. And sometimes, actually most of the time, learning with your physical hands is going to teach you better than you can learn it
2 tips
on a video.
The one time we bought a chicken tractor that was already done, and it had a bottom on it, and that made it really hard to drag around, because you always ended up with one that was squawking because you ended up squishing its toe under the fence. It was fencing, I believe, that was under it. So it seems like a good idea to protect the bottom of it, but if you use fencing, just think about how you're going to be dragging that around and not get their feet under it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I brought, I know I was late, but this is a pretty handy tool to use. It's just a flashlight, but it's meant to candle your eggs as you're
just set the egg on top.
As you're starting them in there, so you can see the different stages. This also is very handy because it's pretty. It makes it kind of more high powered than if you're just using It has one on the top. It has a light.
They have a built-in light on the top of that too.
Which is pretty nice, or even most times I'll use my light on my cell phone, but this works better because it's kind of more directed right into the egg, since it sits kind of in it. The main thing that helps, the reason this helps, is because those rotten eggs sometimes are really hard to see into. Some of the colors of shells.
Hey, symmetrical preparedness. Thanks. Sorry, man. I had it on screen. Didn't see you jumping on there. Appreciate it. Yeah, you had asked how do you protect your animals from predators, right? So we'll go to that in just a sec.
All right. Yeah. So sorry, that was my only thing. Just some eggshells are really thick, and so it's hard to see into just with a regular flashlight. But these are pretty easy. So it's actually called an egg candler if you're looking into getting one.
They're important, and they're not that expensive, right? They make it easy on a flashlight production.
Oh, it's just worth it. I mean, you don't want an egg to be rotten in there, and it's like we try to do everything after having it happen. I think it's only happened to us once, and we try to prevent it at all costs now. It's really it's pretty horrible.
So yeah, for any of you guys who don't know Michael from Asymmetrical Preparedness, find him too. He's got a fantastic channel, does a lot of really neat things, and a good friend of ours. But yeah, so Michael, thank you. So protecting your animals from predators, that's got to be one of the most difficult, frustrating, and can be devastating to your system, your crop, right? One thing is you try and get them to a point when they're semi self-sustainable on their own, right? Where they're not going to be a total victim all the time, right? So that's typically with birds when they're fully feathered, right? If that makes sense. When they have feathers, they're about ready to go outside and not be with you. Now, if you're having a brooding hen and she's taking care of them, well, you're not going to be able to go in there and play with them anyway. She's going to keep you away. She'll do the best job she can. The two predators, actually, there's like 3 predators in our area. One is going to be aerial predators, right? Like your hawks, your owls at night, that type of a bird prey, right? And the best way to do that, like, is a cover for them, not to have their space totally open, right? Because most of those birds will circle and find small chicks, and they'll come in and they might come from the angle, right? So if you had like a tarp or a roof or whatever over your actual hen house or your chicken run, that is going to help immensely against that predator.
It also helps. We now have the bird flu, and a lot of those migratory birds, that's the way it spreads when they're kind of flying over. And so having a top on your coop or your chicken run is going to also kind of limit some of that exposure.
The other thing that is the next most dangerous, we talked about rats, right? Rats, they don't really take advantage of a bird once they're bigger than maybe a pound, right? But the young ducklings, the young chickens that are just getting to that point when mom's letting them kind of wander a little bit more, they're going to be an issue. Now, rats are typically only an issue in the house, right? They don't have a tendency to go out in the run and get a chick during the day. You don't have to worry about that. It's just in the chicken house. One of the things that we did with our chicken house is we actually have concrete at the bottom of the chicken house. And then it's not perfectly sealed, but that does give a much better seal than this dirt or gravel, right? Because rats burrow. And they can pop in the chicken house and take a chick without even mom knowing, right?
We also changed our chicken feeder.
Yep.
And so that was a big deal, because if you have the food, that's what they're coming for.
Yeah, they're not always, they're not there year round for the chicks. They're there for the feed, and then they find something that's even better than just dry chicken food, right? So yeah, that's a big one there too, is so we put ours up off the ground on the wall. Now a rat can run up a wall, right? But it's far less than if it's just on the ground as a feeder. And then in the run, the other thing is going to be coyotes, right? Coyotes, dogs, neighbors' dogs, that type of stuff, right? If you can build a coop or a run that has it protrudes into the dirt so that something can't just quickly get their nose under the edge of the cage and then find their way in, that's going to help you a lot. That's one of the biggest problems people, I think, find when they buy like a commercial style run. It's like a dog kennel or whatever, right? And they put it on the ground. I think, yeah, that's totally fine. Well, really, yes, it's important to have the wall that you see being safe too, because you don't want your dog pushing on it, just going in, that type of stuff, and getting a bird. But really what happens typically is they get their nose under it. That's natural for them, right? And then they squeeze their body under, and that's where it's not protected on the commercial ones. So you have to build some type of ground.
Well, and you did a really cool, added a barrier around the edge with concrete on our last one you built, which is pretty nice.
Since we've had that, we actually haven't lost any animals in that coop to predators like that, right? And so basically we've got some roof trusses. They're like $200. Guy dropped them off, put some steel roof on it. That was nice. We built one end of it, has a wooden coop with a concrete floor, and then the run is dirt ground, right? But all the posts that held it up, we put fencing all the way around, right? We actually poured like a curb, like a concrete footer between the posts, right, all the way around. So there's actually concrete where something can't just dig under or squeeze between the wire, and that really, really helps. All right, what's this question? I'm worried about adding animals to our homestead because how do you ever leave for a couple of days? So you want to go on vacation? That's a fantastic question. Thank you. Yes, it can be a thing for sure. And you're going to have that window when they're young where you're stuck at home, or you got to have somebody also capable who could swing by regularly and check on them, once, twice a day, right?
Or even a house sitter.
And that's really for about 2.5 weeks. It's not the end of work, but there's that window. But some of the systems that we have on our farm, and we've incorporated in the last number of years, are designed where we actually don't have to look at them for about 6 days, right? You can forget you have chickens, you can forget you have ducks, you can forget you have turkeys, and they will survive on the way the water auto feeders and the larger food bins that kind of self-feed. They just have the access at the bottom and it keeps feeding itself through. Those are fantastic. And I would recommend that for every farm because we're modern farmers. We have jobs, we have careers, right? Our children are busy, and we don't have every single day. Now, the worst thing you'll find is that you walk out there and there's like 55 or 60 eggs, and you're like, oh yeah, it has been a couple of days since we went out here.
A great solution for that is knowing your neighbors. And I think that's kind of another one of those kind of warrior things is knowing who your neighbors are. Maybe you're not best friends with all of them, but I bet you have one neighbor out there that's going to love to come and collect your eggs and make their breakfast with them. So that's a great thing is just using your neighbors for that time, because maybe they have some pets too that you can wander over and feed when they're gone for a week.
Absolutely. And that's part of it, right? Is finding your group, finding your people that can help you and support you. That's what we're here for. That's what we have my kids for, right? So they can help alleviate some of that effort, some of that time. I just know that we're coming into that spring where people are thinking, maybe that's something I want to do. And we have built a number of chicken coops and a number of different programs. Some of them worked, and then sometimes you lose half your flock to the neighbor's dog, right? That's frustrating, right? It really is, all the effort and all the financial investment, right? Like when you buy chicks for meat birds, they're the fastest growing protein out there. So if you're looking at filling the freezer, those chickens are really awesome. Now we've done 2 styles of meat chickens, and the thing that I would recommend is kind of look and understand your timeline. There's the white meat chickens that are called
Cornish
cross. They grow fast. Like they grow so fast, they're ugly most of their life because their feathers don't, like they just start to fill in full feathered and they grow again and there's space between the feathers. So they look naked half the time, right? Now they grow in 7 weeks to 7 to 8 pounds, right? We've had some that were like 9.5 pounds and they actually get big so fast, they have injuries. They injure a leg. And if you get them to like week 10, sometimes their heart stops. Like they grow that fast. They're a very, very unique bird. But as far as how much you feed them, it's really not it's almost like every piece of food you give them, they gain in protein weight, right? It's like, I think we had at the time 40 or 50, I can't recall, of the white Cornish crosses. And I think we used 3 bags of food their entire life for all 40 birds, right? That was amazing. Now we lost like 10 of them. 10 or 12 died before we got to process them for whatever great reason. So
their legs fail, their heart fails.
Yeah, something happens, right? And that's the big thing with that kind of bird. But it's really amazing to watch. Now
they're just bred to get big fast. They're not bred for longevity. That's what they're made for.
They are the dumbest bird you have ever seen, man. They barely do anything. They will actually sit there. If you leave them a food bin like in there overnight, and we don't recommend that, we'll teach you all that too. Take it out at night, put it back in during the day. But if you leave it there, they'll actually sleep with their head in the food, and they'll just eat, and they won't ever walk. And it's amazing, right? But we went with another kind of bird. The last couple times we've done it, they're actually red. They're red feathered, and those were.
They have different names. They're another crossbreed, but it depends on the hatchery that you get them from. They've been called like Red Rocket or Red. I think everything usually says red something with them, but they're another broiler chicken. So bred to be a meat bird.
It was one of the original meat birds before they did the crosses here with the Cornish cross, right? And most birds that you find now. So these are Pioneer Redneck.
So I think each hatchery, I think, has their own name for what that
Rhode Island Reds. No, that's a standard.
No, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just because they're breeding it at their own hatchery, so they get to name it, I guess. But another thing we didn't mention is if you get turkeys at a farm store, they almost always are broad-breasted, which if you think you're going to try to raise it as a pet, it's not going to work very well.
No.
They're also designed to be a meat bird, and so they're not really they're not best for living a long life. They're best for growing big meat really fast.
Yeah.
So just be cautious of that. Know what you're getting. Do your research. We've done a lot of research. We're kind of old school, so we'll read a book. But nowadays you can Google it. Look for groups like ours. Talk to a friend that's done it before. There's so much there's so much information, and then there's also trial and error. We've been around long enough to use that strategy.
And we want you guys to ask us questions, right? So you can always find us at 1stronghome.com. That is the easiest way to get to us. Most of our stuff is transitioning over to the Patreon. So if you aren't yet signed up as a member on Patreon, please do that. That's where we're going to have these opportunities, these moments. You'll get better access to us. Here at Chick Season, it's pretty awesome, right? We're really excited about it. We've done a lot. We've done a lot with raising birds, and we can be an access and an answer for you because it's really fulfilling. We love it. I wish we should save some of the photos, but we have photos of our children, like they're little. They're like first grade holding chicks, right? And just the love and the care that they learned out of that. And the loss is also important, right? They learn their favorite chick died, right? Like that can be tough, but it's important. It's important too, right? Because you're teaching them someday to replace you and to be able to do exactly what you do. And you learned that respect for life also somehow, right? And we really believe in that. Chicks are an entry drug to farming, right? If you get chicks, next thing you know, you're gonna get goat or pig or whatever, and that's cool as long as you're prepared and ready for it, right? This is just something that's pretty awesome. One of the things too about those red, the meat birds that we liked, they're beautiful most of their life. They don't grow so fast that they don't have feathers. They're way smarter bird. They're more like a regular chicken. They just get bigger than a regular chicken quicker. But their life is about 9 weeks, I would say, instead of 7 weeks. So plan for that. The thing too, we kind of tease about it, but if you're getting the Cornish crosses, the white ones, you really need to plan that butcher date early and plan it for 7, maybe 8 weeks, because they will grow so fast in that last week and a half that if something came up, you were on vacation, you couldn't do the butcher when you want to do the actual butcher on them, you might lose a third of your flock in the next 7 days if you had to put it off to the following weekend, because they just grow so quickly. Now
then they won't fit in your shrink wrap bags.
They won't fit in your bags, right? They seriously go from like 7 pounds to 10 pounds over like 9 days, which is cool when you're trying to think total proteins in the freezer, right? But if you lose, let's say you had 40 birds, if you lose 10 to 12 birds, you're not winning, right? You're not winning because you're putting a full bird in a freezer, right? And so if you lose that many, that's that many meals, right? And that's really important. So the red ones are more forgiving, right? They give you more time. You could wait all the way up to 12 weeks if you wanted to. They really get to a size they're going to get, and they'll be that way for 3-4 weeks. They're not going to get tough, right? They're going to stay the same. And when we go through butchering, we'll kind of show how to make sure that meat kind of starts to tenderize itself before you put it in the freezer. Some methods to that'll help as well too. So we want to make sure that you also have our email, right? So our email is admin@onestrongHome.com, right? Just admin. Find us, ask us your questions. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Patreon. You can find us on our website. Remember, it's everything with the number 1 Strong Home. We have these great Family Fridays. We also have Warrior Wednesdays where we do the lives. And we're patterning out right now. We're doing them at 9 o'clock on Friday, see how many we can get in here. We may just choose a different time. And if something for you works better, I know we've had hundreds of people view these on the replay rather than live, and that's fantastic. Thank you. You can always drop your comments there too in the comment section. If you have a question, we can grab it from there as well. But get a hold of us if there's a time that actually works great for your schedule and you'd like to be involved. We'd love to pattern this around your guys' schedule as well too. Well, that's what we have for today, right? It's chick season. We're pretty excited. We want to make sure that you guys join us. Remember, find us on the Patreon. That's where all our content's going to be. Oh, and if you go to 1stronghome.com, still waiting for your t-shirt. There's some pretty cool merchandise, right? And that helps support the program, support the show, and some pretty cool stuff. It's all nice quality hats and t-shirts and leggings and tank tops and throw blankets and just about anything you could want is available there, logoed and with our Strong Home Family program. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. And wait, we got one more question here. What we got? Oh, thank you, Michael. So thank you too. All right. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you next week.